The two girls were reported missing on Monday, February 13th. The bodies were discovered about 12:15 on the 14th in the woods just east of town here by volunteers that helped in the search of the children after they were reported missing to the Carroll County Sheriff's Department.
To the killer, who may be in this room, we believe you are hiding in plain sight, and you want to know what we know. And one day, you will. A question to you. What will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered two little girls? Two children. Only a coward would do such a thing.
There are many dates in a lifetime that you're going to remember. The date your children are born, the date you're married, the date you buy a first house, the date Abby and Libby went missing. One of those dates was last Friday, October 28, 2022. At that time, we had gathered evidence to formulate a PC that was submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation.
Now, after they got the PC, the probable cause to make the arrest, they spoke with Richard Allen. And there's an allegation in this case through phone calls, etc., that Richard Allen has confessed over 60 times is what prosecutors are saying, somewhere in that ballpark. Well, the trial is taking place right now. Cameras, electronic devices banned from the courtroom by the judge who doesn't want the public to see the trial. But Court TV's senior producer, Barbara McDonald, is in Indiana, was in the courtroom today, and has more for us tonight. Barbara, great to see you. My understanding is interrogation videos were played for the jury today. What can you tell us?
That's right. They played 2 interrogation videos, redacted versions of them, so we didn't see the full videos. But I did write down some quotes among the 60-some-odd pages of notes I took today. In the first interview on the 13th of October, this was right after they rediscovered that tip that had been misplaced since 2017 about Richard Allen admitting to being out of the trails that day. And this was an interrogation with Steve Mullen, who is the current investigator for the prosecutor's office, as well as Sheriff Tony Liggett. Here are some of the things that Richard Allen said. "I thought I was talking to you to be helpful. It sounds like you think I done it. I'm starting to feel like your main lead." At one point, he started getting a little annoyed with the investigators. He was very polite throughout, very calm, but he was getting annoyed. And he said, "Are you going to arrest me? Am I free to leave or not?" Steve Mullen said, "You are always free to leave." And he got up and walked towards the door, and he said, "Thank you. You're an expletive." Then we also saw the second interview. This was done on the 26th of October by Indiana State Police Lieutenant Jerry Holeman. And this interrogation ended in Richard Allen's arrest. One of the things that he said, "I think nothing you have is going to show me near the murder of 2 girls. I didn't murder anyone. I didn't help anyone murder anyone." At one point, Jerry Holeman says to him, "We want the truth, Rick." And Richard Allen responds, "I told you the truth, and you don't want to hear it." Later in the interrogation, it gets very heated, especially on the part of Jerry Holeman. And Richard Allen says to him, "Arrest me." And Jerry Holeman responds, "I'd be happy to." They cut the video shortly after that, and we did not see that arrest. Both sides had previously stipulated that the judge would read the transcript of that portion of that interrogation, and she did. Then when we came back from the lunch break today, we heard from some witnesses and started, Vinny, getting into those confessions.
All right, let's start with the interrogations. And how did he look? Like, how did he appear in those interrogations?
He was very calm. He, he was heavier back then. His face was more rounded. In the first interview, he was wearing a black sweatshirt. He was in a black polo shirt. The second time, he remained calm throughout the interviews, even when he started to get a little pissed off. And he would say things like, "I'm not trying to question your integrity," but he was very adamant. He was very steadfast and consistent in his denials that he did not go to the area of the crime scene. He did not see Abby and Libby, that he doesn't know Abby or Libby, that he didn't have his gun with him that day on the trails, and that he didn't have a knife with him on the trails. When they would leave him alone in the room, sometimes for 5 or 6 minutes at a time, he would just sit very calmly in his chair. He wasn't fidgety. They would leave papers on the table in front of him. He never made an effort to look at those papers. At one point in the interrogation with Jerry Holeman, Jerry Holeman had left his phone in the room as he stepped out. That phone rings. Richard Allen didn't look at it, didn't acknowledge it at all, just continued to sit there waiting for Jerry Holeman to come back in. He did say several times he was done, but he never asked for an attorney and never ended that second interview.
And you mentioned other witnesses, and we started to get into these alleged confessions. Give us a picture of that as well.
So the confessions that we heard about today all came from Department of Corrections employees. There were 9 total, including the former sheriff of the Westville Correctional Facility, which is the first maximum security prison solitary confinement unit where Richard Allen was held. He was held there for 13 months in solitary confinement. The warden has been in law enforcement 28 years. He says in his career he's never seen anybody else treated that way for that long. The warden said that at one point Richard Allen sent him a request for an interview, which is a standard form they use, saying that he wanted to confess to the murders of Abby and Libby. He provided no detail about those murders, none of those details that perhaps only a killer would know. The defense also pointed out that the warden was fired. The former warden corrected the defense attorney and said, "I was let go," but he is no longer in that position at Westville. We heard from 8 other prison guards, most of them at Westville, one of them from Wabash, all talking about these confessions that Richard Allen made. None of them were specific. The one that was the closest to being specific came from a guard who was only a guard for 7 months before he was fired. But during that time, he was one of the suicide companions watching Richard Allen in his cell. He said that Richard Allen said that he killed those girls with a box cutter that he had stolen from CVS, and then he threw that box cutter away at CVS. You may remember, Vinny, last week we heard from the forensic pathologist. He now believes that a box cutter could potentially be the weapon, but for more than 7 years, he said he couldn't identify that weapon. And it was only after Richard Allen made this confession behind bars that suddenly the forensic pathologist had this epiphany that perhaps a box cutter was in fact used in these murders. He said that was speculation. There is no evidence to confirm that.
Wow. And none of these confessions are on video, correct?
No, these were all written down. Well, actually, no, the ones at the Westville were on video. One of the jurors actually asked a question about that, but so far those videos have not been introduced. The confession that he allegedly made at Wabash was not on video, and that was simply written down by the suicide companion who was checking on him every 15 minutes, said he observed him for 10 minutes, and during that time he said he killed the girls.
All right, Barbara McDonald in the middle of it all out in Indiana. Thank you so much. Let's get back to our think tank. Ann Bremner, Rick King, Randy Kessler. Rick, I'll start with you. The first part, he's denial in the interrogations, but then solitary confinement. He's in the Department of Corrections, not in jail, but in prison, 13 months. All of a sudden, he's confessing left and right. What do you make of that?
13 months in solitary confinement will make a man say just about anything. I think that I don't like him. First of all, I don't like the fact that he's confessing to guards after being in solitary for 13 months, and these confessions aren't recorded. They're not videotaped. They're not contemporaneously recorded. I just don't like it at all. I think what's the most compelling evidence is what happened when he was spoken to by investigators, where it was recorded, and that's the information for me that I think moves the needle.
Randy Kessler, what do you think about the two different scenarios here? One, complete denial. On the other hand, he's confessing to everybody.
These are not the best confessions in the world. We've had much bigger, stronger, easier, clearer confessions than this. And these are the tough cases, right, where there is no eyewitness. There's only circumstantial evidence, and you got to compare that with the desire for closure. We want somebody to pay dearly for the loss of these two girls, and so that anger is directed at him, but there's got to be evidence. Where's the proof? He might have been in the area. He might have been wearing the same outfit. If a confession is good, if the guard is believable and credible, that may make some headway. But so far,
I just hope they aren't the Odinist guards, because we have some guards who are Odinists. I don't think they were. Not Barbara, and Bremner. What are your thoughts here about the denial versus the confessions?
Yeah, I'm with Rick and Randy. It's kind of advertised like there's 60 some odd confessions or whatever, but juxtapose him denying so much on video, and then it happens within 10 minutes on a suicide companion, saying, yeah, I killed her with a box cutter. It's only 10 minutes. I just don't think it's going to sell, but people hate this guy so much that I think he's going to get convicted.
We shall see. Ann Bremner, Rick King, Randy Kessler, thank you so much. Awesome job today. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
The trial of a wife who's accused of killing her husband and then burning his remains.
Defendant murdered and desecrated her own husband.
The Burn Pile Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And Vanity Fair spending a weekend at Karen's. Karen Reed, a journalist from Vanity Fair, stayed with Karen Reed for 3 days while writing her article. I've got a couple of clips from that article. Julie Miller is the journalist. Reed's offer was audacious. 3 days during which she would discuss any and every aspect of her life and legal saga. There will be no lawyer present, no parameters. There's nothing we're afraid of, she told me. Any question you have, I have answers for. She also said there weren't many cars in the driveway and Reed felt uneasy. McCabe had conveyed the invitation, so Reed wasn't sure how welcome the couple actually were. O'Keefe said he'd check out the scene and report back, but minutes passed without a word. I got bleeped, Reed tells me now. She knew that a woman O'Keefe used to hook up with lived a few houses down the street. After 10 minutes of waiting, Reed drove to O'Keefe's house. Check that out. All right. We also have a missing child tonight. Please take a look at your television screens. This is Hayden Burgess, 18 years old, missing out of Redford, Michigan since October 24th. If you see Hayden, pick up the phone, make a call, 1-800-THE-LOST, 911, or the Redford Police Department in Michigan. Let's get Hayden to a safe place tonight.